Hi, I'm Peter Batt, and I'm a journalist, writer, and author of a book called Psychopath Economics. And I'm talking now about psychopathic power, and specifically about the consequences of separating emotional from rational thinking. But humans are not infinitely empathetic. Um, we organise our empathy in terms of circles, what I call circles of empathy. It could be your family, your partner, your local community, all sorts of groups and structures that you're involved with. We organise our empathy in that way. And many of the people that fall outside of those circles, we treat effectively psychopathically. I'm not sort of saying this as if we all become sort of axe-wielding maniacs in the Hollywood sense. It's simply where emotional connections are detached from for instance, our economic connections. And I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing. When the interests of an elite, a ruling elite, and the rest of society complement each other, this sort of psychopathic focus, or a cold focus on achieving goals, can actually be quite exciting and can drive innovation and social progress. The problems come when the interests of a psychopathic elite then diverge from everyone else. Um, and I mean, particularly if you consider that psychopathic power makes no concession without a threat. This elite, and we can see it today, will actually assert its interests regardless of the consequences for everyone else and also the planet. And the thing is, if they're given free rein, psychopaths have a very strong sense of entitlement. They have almost a second sense for identifying weaknesses in other people and exploiting them. And they are very effective at hiding their own intentions and manipulating those around them. What's more, a psychopathic elite will always ensure that the rest of society isn't just conflicted and distracted, but also completely dependent on it. The thing is, previous civilizations were regional, so the survivors could move elsewhere to pastures new, whereas today's civilization is global, which means that if we do not break this cycle, then basically the future of humanity is seriously threatened. So elites don't relinquish their control willingly, but as I've discussed in my book, there are a number of ways that their power can be challenged, and one of them is debt. The vast majority of today's money has been created as debt out of thin air by our fractional reserve banking system. 97% of our money, in fact, typically. When we repay our loans, this debt money is deleted. What this means is that we as a society, as an economy, can never pay back our loans, otherwise we simply delete 97% of the money in circulation. What's more, the interest on that debt is a claim on money that doesn't exist. The interest is often a larger sum of money than actually is created by the state as notes and coins. So debt doesn't just make us dependent on an elite, it also places us on a treadmill of constant economic growth in order to repay those debts. The truth is, the bulk of today's net debts are owed by the bottom 90% in terms of wealth to the top 10%. And this is a gulf of inequality that's being ever widened by the burden of interest payments. For instance, in the UK, Britons pay their banks up to £120 billion every year in interest, and this is interest on money that the banks never even had. But today's debt doesn't just widen inequality, because the bulk of lending goes on to unproductive assets such as property. This lending also reduces the economy's ability to create new wealth. So on the one hand, it makes us more reliant on debt, while it's simultaneously reducing our ability to service and repay that debt. And you see, debt historically has always grown beyond the ability of an economy to pay. But we have an elite at the moment, as the Greek debt crisis shows, that has no interest in relinquishing any of its demands on us. And so the only way for us to redress the balance is for ordinary people to challenge the legal, moral and economic foundations and legitimacy of debt. We need a grassroots movement to challenge, calling for debt cancellation, like a sort of a debtors cartel. Ordinary people, if they ever want to be free, need to leverage change. By failing to challenge their debts, they are consenting to their own destruction.